English translation, 678th Contact Friday, the 24th of March 2017, 23:53 hours.
Welcome, my friend, but I really wouldn't have hurried like that. Hello there, Ptah.
Florina sent me your call and your questions, and then I went back to the whole thing that refers to the 230th contact that you and Quetzal had together on the 11th of October, 1989. But my time is limited because I have to go back in about 30 minutes at the latest, which is why we have to hurry.
Okay, but it really wouldn't have hurried like that. But if you've already come here, then it's also good and the whole thing can be clarified.
Here's an excerpt from Quetzal's records from that time, so we can compare everything word for word with what you retrieved and wrote down. The fact, however, that in my research I had sought the error only with regard to, and he will be the third progress of mine. In sentence 13, and in the 41st sentence, in the first and second part, the successors of my, that was now also very careless of me. Florina told me that Christian also found mistakes in the same context.
It's very good that you brought the notes with you because a comparison is probably the smartest thing. But first and foremost, it is thanks to your first efforts that the mistake was found, and it is clear that the prediction was not made by Elijah, but by Jeremiah. But let us now please check the first sentences of Quetzal that I have here in the computer, and again something is wrong here. If you please read and check the sentences with the original recordings.
Certainly, because I have tried to bring something more. But again, it is not a prophecy, but a prediction, which this time goes back to the prophet Elijah and is mainly about you and little else. I also had to translate his old words into today's German language so that everything would be understood. Hear then what he had to say.
There is actually another mistake.
That is probably the this time in the third sentence, isn't it?
No, the this time is correct. But according to Quetzal's original recording, the preceding also is missing, which of course gives the whole thing a different meaning than it should have.
Aha, then it means also this time, and not only this time. I guess I lost that when I called up the conversation and wrote it down. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens to me even today.
That is no offense, because this work requires an unusually high level of concentration, which cannot always be fully maintained because it fluctuates and can lead to letter or word omissions as well as word shifts in the current sentence.
Thank you. Then I now know what this annoyance, which is unpleasant for me, is based on. But let's get back to the problem of mistakes if you're in such a hurry. Christian has drawn my attention to the fact that even in sentences 68 and 69 there are still mistakes, which I assume were probably also made by Quetzal. Look here, those are the two sentences.
It shall be so, for I see and hear in heaven, and know that it shall be so, for I am Elijah the messenger, and I speak the truth. So this is Elijah's prediction.
Regrettable because here too the mistake has arisen, precisely that Quetzal mentioned Elijah instead of Jeremiah in his record.
That's why you can't rip his head off right away, because mistakes happen and can't always be avoided. I think that this is simply human, and that this is not only the case here on Earth, but everywhere in the entire universe with all human or human-like forms of life, including you Playaran. If we human beings would no longer make mistakes, then we would no longer have to learn, which would make life meaningless on the one hand and deadly boring on the other.
I can only agree with that. But now, dear friend, we have clarified what is necessary, and I have to go back. Goodbye, Edward.
Then see you again. Thank you, Ptah, and goodbye.